All right. Hey there, y'all. Welcome to the Money Club. My name is Lisa Duke, and my guest today is Lee Logsdon. Lee is the owner of Strict Money Mastery. Amongst other things, he is a blogger there, but he's going to tell us all about how over his career he has earned more. So, welcome, Lee, and thanks for being part of our Earn More series. How are you doing today?
I am doing great, Lisa. Thank you so much for doing this.
My pleasure. And I hope that it's a fun conversation for us and helpful for all the viewers as well. So take us back, to the beginning of time when you were first starting out your career. You were saying that you started out with a small AV company, correct?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I like to tell people that I started there when I was a baby because I think I started there when I was about 19 years old. And I just kind of grew with the company. I started off just literally assembling little AV boxes as like a technician. And then as different positions opened up in the company, I would move into different positions until eventually, after working there for 16 years, I was the director of IT and external support for the company.
Wow. That's a big, 16 years, you had a while to do it, but that's a big jump from like assembling gadgets all the way up to director of IT. So my guess is just being there for 16 years was not sufficient to work your way to quite that level of the company. You could have just been assembling things for 16 years. So what really were the keys to your success that allowed you to get promoted and to earn more?
Well, that's actually a great question because when you're working in a company, it's so easy, especially when you're young and you start, potentially your first job. You start doing this one job and you can easily just get kind of wrapped up in that one job and never really move on to anything else. And if the one thing that you have to do, I don't care where you're at, or if you're working for a company or you're working for yourself, is you have to put yourself out there,
Mm.
and you have to kind of expose yourself to discomfort, in order
Yeah.
to.
It's
And
very
so
disappointing, but I think that's one of the keys to success.
it is. I mean, I think everybody has pretty much heard the saying that you don't grow in a comfort zone, right?
Mhm.
And that's absolutely the truth. I mean, there were people I worked with and they were great people, right? I loved these people, but they had been in the same position in the company for their entire career. And
Mhm.
and that's okay. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. And if someone's happy doing that, that's the key, But if you want to grow and you want to, what this is about, if you want to earn more, right, you
Mhm.
have to kind of put yourself in these kind of uncomfortable situations and force yourself to grow.
So did you do that through like, did the company send you to school? Did they send you to training programs, or did you just learn things on the side? How did you actually put that into play?
Well, yeah, both of those things. So the company, there may be a new position that would, open up in the company. And the very first thing you have to do is say, I'm interested. Like, I'm
Mhm.
interested. I think I have the skills to do this. And if I don't, if I don't necessarily have the skills right away, I'm willing to learn. Okay. And,
Mhm.
and do what it takes, for this position. And yes, the company would, potentially have trainings to bring you up to the level that you needed to be at, whether that was internal training with the company or whether or not they would send you to school, to bring your skills up to the level that they needed to be.
Yeah, and I certainly know people. I'm thinking of a friend of mine in particular. His team, like he keeps saying to them, and you know how IT is, right? Things are constantly changing. So he keeps saying to them, "What training do you want to do? What training do you want to do?" And he's not getting a lot of takers. So it sort of amazes me. And again, if you're happy where you are, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But a lot of that earn more is about moving up, expanding your skills, finding a skill that's more valuable. And so, if your company is willing to pay for that and to let you do it on their time, for sure take advantage of that. And I would say, even if it's not on your time and they're not willing to pay for it, you need to be willing to invest in yourself because those skills you own, right? So you might as well pay for them. So, do you
Yeah.
have some specific examples of like maybe the number one thing you did that helped you the most, or the skill that you think is most valuable that you have?
Um, well, throughout the years, obviously you develop all these skills, but really one of the skills that you have to develop is you have to develop communication skills.
Yeah, yeah.
um, commu- commu- Communication skills, I don't care what career you're in or how you're trying to make money, is probably one of the most valuable things that you can get. Some people are more natural communicators, and others, they're just not. They're more introverted. They don't communicate very effectively, we'll say.
Mhm.
And they have to push themselves and learn those skills, because in any position you're in, communication is key.
Yeah, that makes sense. And this is a little bit of a stereotype, but it tends to be true. If you're the kind of person who's really interested in things and really technologically interested, then of course that's where your focus is. That's where you've been developing. Sometimes the people side is not as good. But if you can do both, you're like magic, right? Because if you
Absolutely.
can do the technical work and you can communicate with the end user, you can help other people, right? Then we can talk about moving into management. It just expands your opportunities so
Yeah.
much. So you may have one or the other that's a personal preference, but and the reverse is also true. If you're really good at communicating with people, but you're like, and this is kind of the camp that I fall into, like, computer makes my head hurt. Hee hee hee. Like, that's not the greatest attitude either. If you can combine both and say, one side is going to be stronger than the other, but I'm going to try to play to my strengths and enhance my weaknesses and bring those together, it makes you really unique. So
Yeah.
you are no longer working for that company though, correct? How did that happen?
That's correct. Well, truthfully, that company, it was a little bit smaller company, although they've been around for decades. They were in a really kind of niche audio video market, and so the company was taken over, and the company kind of started going through some ups and downs, and they ended up kind of merging some departments, and I got caught up in that, and
Mm-hmm.
finally getting laid off. It was actually a very it was about the best way anybody could lose their job. Severance package. It was all very nice. I left the company on good terms. It
Hmm.
was just something that they had to do to transition the company to where they were moving it.
Okay. And how long ago was that?
That was in May of 2018.
Okay. So what have you been working on since then?
Well, when that happened, I kind of, I came home and, I talked to my wife, and, you know, for a while I had just kind of lost my spirit, in that company and in that career, I guess you could say. And I wanted to do something else. I wasn't totally sure what, but in all honesty, we had kind of set ourselves up financially in such a way that I didn't have to jump right back into a career. Uh,
Hmm.
we are, we're 100% debt free. Everything in our house, including our house, is paid for, and we worked really hard for years to make that happen. So I just kind of decided to take a little bit of time
Hmm.
and start exploring some things, and putting myself in these uncomfortable zones. Right. And so I've done really a variety of things to make money, and some of them just sound probably a little bit crazy. Um, but while I had worked at the audio video company, I had always been interested in real estate. And so, kind of, when I wasn't working at the company, I was involving myself in the real estate market here. And I had actually bought and rehabbed and flipped a couple houses here.
Mm-hmm.
So, outside of my career, I was trying to develop other skills in real estate, and I developed all these skills kind of pertaining to remodeling and things like that. So I'm like, I'm going to do some of these things because I always enjoyed it. I've always been the kind of person who I like to, in the technology world, if you go into work, sometimes you leave and you're not 100% sure what you accomplished. It,
Like I was very busy, but did I do anything? I don't know.
right, right. And it's not real tangible, but with remodeling and real estate, it is very tangible. You go in, you accomplish something, and you get to step back and see what you accomplished that day. And so that had always been really fulfilling to me. So I kind of got into doing some of that stuff, just kind of doing a small remodeling business. But I also had always been completely obsessed with buying and selling things.
Hmm.
So I just kind of started intermingling all these skills to make money. And, going on 3 years later, I'm still doing it, and it's working out fairly well. But I also started my blog, which is all about debt-free living and
Hmm.
making money, side hustles, because that's what I'm passionate about. And that's really the road I wanted to go down after I lost my job. I wanted to go, okay, what am I passionate about?
Mm-hmm.
What are the skills that I have that can add value to people and that I can use to make money?
Mm. This has been a really common theme with all the people I've talked about. And it goes back to mindset, right? I talk a lot about mindset. And it's that I think this is one of the mindsets that's been common amongst all the people that I've interviewed for Earn More is that mindset of what skills do I have that are valuable to others? How do I create value? How do I add value? And I don't know that it's necessarily the way the average like employee in corporate America thinks, but it's
Yeah.
one of those little mindset shifts that you start thinking, okay, well, what kinds of things can I do? So it sounds like you've got the blog. Well, first off, you guys were really responsible with the money you had over, your career. So you had a very small footprint. So when the time came to make a change, you weren't dependent on that paycheck, every single month, every single penny plus 10%. So that it sounds like was a piece of it. And then the streams of income that you have or are working to have, you've got the blog, you've got the flipping of the real estate. And you said you like to buy and sell things. What kind of things are you selling? How does that work?
So this is actually one of the like most funny and like exciting things to me about how people can kind of break loose of kind of what I like to call their money identity.
Mm,
Okay. And so I think we start to develop, when we get our first job or something, we start to work in these careers and we start to develop a money identity.
mm-hmm,
And what I mean by that is we start to develop this idea about how we make money.
mm-hmm,
So, if you work in a career long enough, then you start to go, well, this is the only way I understand how to make money. And so if you lose your job or if you want to get another job, you're stuck in that I'm going to get a similar type of job,
mm-hmm,
I'm going to get a recruiter and I'm going to have them start looking for me a job if you work in sales or you're an accountant or
mm-hmm.
then you start looking for that same type of job. But what people can do is go, what skills do I have? What hobbies do I have? What are things that I do right now that I don't necessarily make money from that I could be making money from? I've just never looked at it in that way. And so, one thing, and this is hilarious, I've always, ever since I was a kid, been obsessed with lawnmowers, right?
Okay.
So, so totally strange. And
Mhm.
I had bought, this mower just to mow my grass with. This was years ago. And when I went to sell it, I wasn't even trying, but I happened to sell it for more than I had paid for it.
Mm, mhm,
And so I'm like, well, that's kind of strange, but okay. And so then I thought to myself, I wonder if I could do this without, just buy it and try and make some money off of it. So I did it. I did it again. I bought a lawnmower. This is going to sound strange, but I bought a lawnmower and within 24 hours made $800 on it.
what? So are you, like, cleaning them up, fixing them up, or you're just finding
Well,
somebody.
sometimes I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't typically hire anybody to do anything. I know enough about it that I see a good deal. And this is what anybody should be doing, right? If they understand a market, use those skills. So I know the value of something in that market. And if I
Mm.
see a good deal, I just buy it and, I make money on it, and I've done it over and over. I make thousands of dollars a year doing this. I mean, with hardly any time out of my day.
That's so awesome. And again, right, like that idea of buying lawnmowers might not work. Like that probably wouldn't work for me. I'm not all that interested in lawnmowers. I don't really want to learn. I don't have a sense for what they're worth, and I don't have a lot of interest in learning that.
Right.
But the idea is for each of us, there's probably something that we're already naturally really interested in, we're already super informed on, or if not, we're interested enough that we'd be willing to get super informed on it. So it might be, some kind of like Tupperware from the 60s that Tupperware is pretty common, but you never know. Maybe they did like a special limited edition color and you're like the person on the internet for teal blue Tupperware, right? Like if that thing is your passion and you know more about it and you see the value, right? We're back to the value conversation. Hang on, that lawnmower is worth $1,200. This guy's just trying to get it out of his garage because they're moving. He's willing to sell it for 600.
Yeah.
This is a deal. I can go provide it to somebody else who's willing to pay full price and get
Yeah.
it at a discount. So how do you find lawnmowers on
Well,
a deal on lawnmowers?
truthfully, it's just like you find a lot of stuff. You're looking on Facebook Marketplace, or you look on Craigslist, or you might just know somebody who knows somebody, and then you can find it any way you want. And I know a lot of people who do that. They flip things, and when I tell people that I flip, at this point, I flip pretty much anything. Just as long as it doesn't take me much time. That may sound funny, but if I can essentially just buy something that I have 30 minutes in and then post it online for sale and have somebody come buy it for me, and I have maybe an hour or 2 hours in it, and I'm making hundreds, or I've even, I mean, the most I've ever made on a lawnmower is $1,400. I mean, in no time. And so that sounds really funny to people, and it's not an area that a lot of people would think about. But what's an area that they understand? Maybe you're good at scrapbooking, right?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you could hire out your scrapbooking services. Do you love it? Would you enjoy doing it for other people? Because I know people who just do it as a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
And they could potentially sell their services to people to do things like that. And so you just really have to get your mind working in a completely different way uh, than I'm going to just get up and go to a job. There's nothing wrong with getting up and going to a job.
Mm-hmm.
It can be fantastic, especially if you enjoy it. But as a side hustle, what are skills you have that you can make money with?
That's fascinating. So we're going to deal in stereotypes again for a minute. And this might not be an area where you have expertise, but you're married. So you might have had some of these kind of conversations. When you're talking about making $1,400 in an hour, I think as a guy, you're like, yeah, I made $1,400 in an hour. I'm awesome. I think a lot of women would get really twerked up about that. They would be like, well, I didn't really do anything to earn it. It's not fair to charge so much. What if that person really needs a lawnmower? Explain to me and again, we're dealing in stereotypes, so not all women, not all men, but explain to me like the dude mindset so that we as women can kind of tap into that and not get caught up in the drama of, well, I didn't really do anything to earn it. Is it okay to charge $1,400 for an hour of your time?
Yeah, I'm so glad that you asked that question because this is one of the biggest things that people who are potentially trying to make money for themselves need to start to understand. They need to start to value their skills and their time appropriately. Um, because I understand lawnmowers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it took me years to really understand pricing and the types of lawnmowers that are valuable and all the different intricacies of lawnmowers. That sounds ridiculous. And I don't just flip lawnmowers. But if you've developed skills and you're providing a service that people are willing to pay for, then you have to be okay with that. You have
Mm.
to come to terms with that.
Mm.
And everybody's different, right?
So I guess the idea is it's not necessarily that you're getting $1,400 for 1 hour of lawnmower flipping. It's that you're getting $1,400 dollars for 1 hour of your time plus all of your knowledge, which was built over many, many more hours of time. And so kind of evaluate, there's like some kind of value escrow, I guess, that all of those years when you were learning that stuff and you didn't, and again, this is very different from what we're trained to think about as employees. As employees, it's, I go to work for 2 weeks, I get a paycheck. A lot
Yes.
of these side hustle and entrepreneurial gigs, you might put in tons and tons of hours and not get a penny out of it ever. Like the idea might just be an epic fail. Or you might get paid, but it's like nothing, 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 $1,400.
Yeah. Yeah, and so that's exactly right. You're spending, people may look at it like, and I've actually had this conversation with people. Some people would be very uncomfortable buying something and selling it within an hour or two and making that much money off of it because they're like, well, that just doesn't seem right that you're charging that somebody else that much. Well, the thing about it for me is, I understand the value in it, and you have to obviously develop good relationships with people, and you don't want to overcharge for
Hmm.
things either. And I don't.
Hmm.
I just understand the value and have spent, like you said, years developing those skills. So that's really what I'm getting paid for.
Mm, it's fascinating. All right, ladies, this is how the dudes think. This is where we have to get our heads. Yeah. And again, I'm stereotyping, but I see it more with women where there's a lot of drama about like, well, yeah, I did go to law school and I do have a PhD and I am one of only 3 people on the planet that know how to do this, but $1,400 for an hour, it just doesn't seem right. Like, no, it's totally right because look at all of what you invested,
Yes.
time, money, education. So yeah, it's a really good attitude.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to that money identity, like I was talking about. We've as a culture kind of gotten into this thing where we only value skills that were learned in a really structured,
Mm,
environment like college or things like that. But the truth of the matter is, we're all developing skills every day, right? And you just have to ask yourself, what skills am I developing that I can use to earn more?
this is so good. Just like chocolate. So, all right, fantastic. That's probably a good place to leave people on that kind of thoughtful note. So, if people want to learn more about your journey, what you're doing, how can they get in touch with you and get more information?
Well, the best thing they can do, they can go to my blog, of course, which is strictmoneymastery.com. And that blog is largely about how we became debt free, earning more money, just useful tips on spending money and kind of getting out of this cycle of just complete consumerism,
Mm,
because that's what kills a lot of people with money. Uh,
preach.
yeah, and they reach out to me at Lee at strictmoneymastery.com.
And that's just spelled Lee.
Yes, that's correct.
The easy way. So, all right, fantastic. And if you would like to get in touch with me, my website is lisaduke.net. And again, spelled the easy way, lisaduke.net. You can, if you please, like this video so that more people can find it. Subscribe to the channel to get more as we continue our Earn More series and on other money and business topics. And drop a comment. Let us know what you liked best, what questions I should have asked. So maybe I can ask somebody else, and any suggestions that you have about tricks you've used to earn more that other people can use as well. So thank you, Lee, so much for your time, and bye to all of our viewers. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Bye bye.